When Joanne called me crying at 2 a.m., I already knew what she was going to say. "He cheated again," she sobbed. I didn't say, "I told you so." I just whispered, "Pack a bag." By noon, I had booked 2 tickets to Cyprus. She didn't ask questions, just followed me like she always had since high school. Me, the tall, fit blonde with sun-drenched skin and quiet intensity. Her, shorter than me, with long, flowing brown hair, soft features, and the kind of beauty that made people stop mid-sentence. Joanne had the warmth of the sun in her laugh and an edge in her silence. We had moved through life like twin tides, sometimes in sync, sometimes crashing, but never out of sight. Until Cyprus. We arrived in Paphos under a syrupy sky, the air sticky with sea salt and orange blossoms. Our hotel overlooked the sea. White walls, blue balconies, and a rooftop bar that glowed pink at sunset. "This place is unreal," she said, wiping her sunglasses on her shirt. "You always pick the best spots." I smiled. "I do what I can." The first few days were medicine. We swam until our fingers wrinkled, rented a scooter and screamed as we zoomed through mountain roads, kissed donkeys at a vineyard, and got mildly scolded for climbing ancient ruins we weren't supposed to. I made her laugh again. That laugh, the kind that starts in her belly and ends in her eyes, had been gone for months. Now it was back, and so was she. We got matching anklets at a local market. Hers had a tiny dolphin, mine a wave. "Cheesy," she said. But she didn't take it off. Each night we'd climb up to the roof with a bottle of something sweet and local. Our skin was sun-warmed, our shoulders covered in freckles. The lights from fishing boats blinked in the dark. We played truth or dare without the dare. "Would you ever go back to him?" I asked once, voice casual. She shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe he was awful, but he was mine." I didn't say anything. I just poured us more wine. One night we took a boat trip at dusk. The sky turned lavender and she leaned into me, or the wind nodding her hair. "I forgot how good it feels," she said. "What?" "To be seen. To not feel like someone's option." God, I could have kissed her right then, but I didn't. Because she was Joanne, and I was her safe place, her backup plan, her emotional storage unit. And I had made peace with that, or at least I thought I had. Until the last night, the air was thick with goodbye. We both knew it, but we didn't say it. Instead, we did what we always did, acted like the moment wasn't real so it wouldn't hurt. She wore a white linen dress that stuck to her thighs from the humidity. I wore a tank top that smelled faintly of her perfume from when she borrowed it 2 days before. We sat cross-legged on the bed, watching a dumb Greek soap opera we didn't understand, and giggling every time someone got slapped. There was a half-empty bottle of rum on the floor. She turned to me. "Do you think I'm easy to love?" I choked a little on my drink. "What?" "I mean, would someone like you love someone like me?" There it was, the sentence that split the air open. I stared at her. She didn't look away. "Someone like me already does," I said quietly. She reached out, fingers brushing the inside of my wrist. "Karina." I didn't need her to say it. I just needed her to be still. And she was. She was still when I leaned in. She was still when our lips met. She was still when the weight of years and could-have-beens spilled into our hands and mouths and skin. It wasn't sudden, it was slow, aching, and soft. The kind of kiss that's part apology, part hunger. The kind of touch that says, "I always wanted this, and I know we'll never do this again." Later, under the thin hotel sheets, she fell asleep with her hand curled in mine. And I stayed awake and memorized her breathing, because something in me already knew. This was not a beginning. It was an ending dressed up in romance. Cyprus was good to us. It turned our skin gold and our moods light. For a few days, it was like we had never known heartbreak, bad choices, or the kind of silence that lingers after long relationships end. Joanne had color in her cheeks again. She wore her green bikini like it had been waiting in the drawer just for this trip. and she walked barefoot everywhere, holding her straw hat instead of wearing it. I kept pretending I wasn't staring when she laughed with her head tilted back, but I knew I was. We snorkeled off the coast of Coral Bay, and I lost sight of her for 2 minutes underwater. When I surfaced, she was already on the rock, waving at me, her hair slicked back, skin glistening. "You okay?" she called. "I'm great," I said. But I was lying, because every time I looked at her, it hurt. We went parasailing. She screamed the whole way up, then got quiet. "Look," she said softly, pointing to the horizon. "Everything feels small from up here." I looked at her, not the view. She didn't notice. That night we danced at a little beach bar with sand under our feet and a DJ who only played early 2000s hits. We were tipsy from cheap cocktails, singing too loud, grinding like we were still teenagers. Her hands were all over me. Not in a way she understood, but I felt every fingertip like a firework. Back at the hotel, we lay on our backs on the cool tiles of the balcony, breathing in the salt air. "I haven't felt like myself in years," she whispered. "You're still in there," I said. She turned her head to me. "You really believe that?" I nodded. More than anything. She reached over and took my hand. Just held it. Like we'd always done. Like best friends. But my hand was trembling. The last night snuck up on us. It always does, doesn't it? The goodbye you pretend isn't coming until it's already knocking at the door. We wore our prettiest dresses. Hers was white and flowy. Mine was navy blue and backless. We went to a cliffside restaurant where the wine came in clay jugs and the candles flickered in the wind. She smiled all night. "This is the happiest I've been in years," she said. I smiled back, hiding the ache behind my ribs. Me too. After dinner, we danced barefoot on the rooftop. Just the two of us. No music. Just the hum of summer bugs and the far-off crash of waves. I held her hand. She didn't let go. Back in our room, we poured the last of the rum into plastic cups. Her cheeks were flushed. "One more game," she said. "No dares?" "Just truths." We lay cross-legged on the bed, inches apart. "Okay," she said. "Your turn." "What's the one thing you've never told me?" The room stilled. My pulse roared in my ears. I looked at her. She was close. So close. The kind of close where you can see every freckle and the line where her lip gloss ends. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just said it. That I've loved you since we were 16. Silence. She didn't pull away. She didn't laugh. She just whispered, "I know." Then she leaned forward. Her forehead rested against mine. I could smell the sea in her hair, feel the breath hitching in her throat. We kissed. It was soft at first. Careful. Like unwrapping something fragile. Then it deepened. Years of quiet longing pouring out of me. Years of her not knowing or pretending not to. Her fingers tangled in my hair. Mine traced the curve of her waist. The bedsheets twisted. Our limbs folded into one another. Nothing was rushed. Everything was electric. We didn't speak. Our bodies said everything. And when it was over, she curled into me, her back against my chest. "Karina," she whispered. But the sentence never finished. I kissed her shoulder. "I know," I said. And we fell asleep like that. Entwined, exhausted, full. I woke before her. The light was pale blue through the curtains. Her lashes fluttered against her cheek, her lips slightly parted. She looked peaceful. I wanted to freeze that moment, to bottle it, to keep it safe forever. But as the minutes passed, I felt it. The shift, the return to reality. Her phone buzzed. She turned in the sheets, groggy. When her eyes met mine, something changed. They didn't soften. They stiffened. She sat up slowly. Neither of us spoke. She reached for her shirt. I looked away. The silence was louder than any scream, By the time we checked out later that morning, we were strangers again. She didn't say a word on the taxi ride to the airport, just looked out the window and clutched her straw hat like it was a lifeline. I watched the coastline blur past us, the same coastline where we swam, danced, breathed freely for the first time in years. Now it felt like a dream with an expiration date. We sat next to each other on the plane, our shoulders almost touching, but she never turned to me, not once. I tried to sleep but couldn't. The seatbelt dug into my ribs, and every part of me ached in a way ibuprofen couldn't touch. Once, mid-flight, she sighed, a soft, almost imperceptible sound, and leaned her head back, and I pretended not to care. But my throat burned. When we landed, she said, "Thanks for coming with me." Not, "Thank you for loving me," not, "I'm sorry." Just that. I nodded. Anytime. Another lie. The days after we returned were quieter than I expected. I thought maybe she'd text, call, pretend nothing happened, or pretend everything had. But the silence came swift and total, like a curtain drop. I watched her green dot flicker on and off on social media. I saw a photo she posted, smiling again, holding an iced coffee. Her caption said, "Healing isn't linear." I clicked it, then clicked away. A week passed, then 2. Then one night I saw his name, the boyfriend, the one who made her cry at 2 a.m. They were tagged in a photo, together at a familiar cafe. She wore the same white dress she had on our last night in Cyprus. He had his arm around her waist, and I felt my chest split open in 3 neat lines. She had gone back to the safety net, back to the pattern, back to the version of herself that didn't include me. I didn't reach out, not because I didn't want to, but because I already had, with my heart, with my body, with the truth I finally told her. In a whisper lit by fairy lights and rum. Some confessions are final. Some kisses don't get follow-ups. My apartment felt emptier than it used to. It wasn't just her absence. It was the echo of what almost was. Her anklet and the one with the dolphin charm and was still in my bag. She must have taken it off that last night and forgotten. Or maybe she'd meant to leave it. I didn't ask. I just tucked it into a drawer, sometimes at night. I still go back to that moment. The rooftop, the dance, the way her hand had found mine without thinking. I think a part of me believed it meant something, that I wasn't imagining it all, that she'd felt the shift too. Maybe she did. But maybe feeling something and choosing something are 2 different things. Months later, a mutual friend casually mentioned that Joanne and her boyfriend had moved in together. "Wild, right?" she said, laughing. "I thought she was done with him." I smiled, like I hadn't already memorized that fact from stalking her stories in the dark. "I guess people change their minds," I said. The last message I ever got from her was 1 line, sent at 1:12 a.m., no punctuation, no greeting. I think about Cyprus sometimes. That was it. She didn't say "I miss you," she didn't say "I'm sorry," just that. I didn't reply. What could I say that wouldn't break something all over again? We haven't spoken since. But sometimes, when I'm walking home from work or standing in the cereal aisle trying to choose between cinnamon and honey, I hear her laugh in my head. I see the way she ran barefoot down the sand, her hair whipping behind her, salt drying on her cheeks. And I wonder if she ever thinks of me, really, or just of that one night. That one soft, secret detour from the road she chose to stay on. People ask me sometimes if I believe in soulmates. I used to say yes. Now I just say, not every person you love is meant to stay. Joanne was not my beginning. She wasn't even my middle. She was the chapter with no title. The one that keeps you up at night, that you underline twice, that you read back years later and still ache for, even if you know how it ends.